Tani Adewumi is one of the fastest rising chess stars, becoming a chess master at just 10 years old and crushing opponents more than double his age. But what happens when the young prodigy faces an international master, also the biggest chess YouTuber of all time? This is Levy Rozman, and over the past few years, he's made himself the most recognizable face in all of chess. Can an 8-year-old chess superstar defeat Levy Rozman and IM? The game begins with Tani opening with the e4 and Levy responding with d5, the Scandinavian defense. After Tani grabs the pawn in the center, Levy plays a tricky move, knight to f6, potentially giving away his pawn completely. After d4 and bishop to g4, Tani thinks he can avoid any complications by playing bishop to e2. However, Tani doesn't know that he's about to play one of the most exciting games of chess in his career. This forces a trade of bishops but allows black to recuperate the pawn. A few more moves get played, and Levy offers a queen trade with the move queen to e4. Tani, scared of any shenanigans, accepts the trade, but as a result, allows a pair of terrifying knights into the white position. After knight a3, Levy plays knight d3 and is about to win a pawn. However, if black isn't careful, the knight on b2 may soon get trapped by the white pieces. But now, Tani is the one going after black's pawns with the move knight to b5. The only way for Levy to defend the pawn on c7 is to move his king to d8 or d7. However, this would allow white to jump in with his other knight and destroy the black position. The best move here for Levy would be to play rook to c7, giving up the pawn but keeping the king in the center. Unfortunately, Levy plays the tempting long castles and is in big trouble. Instead of capturing the pawn immediately, Tani plays rook to b1, setting up a deadly checkmating attack. The other rook is brought into the attack, leaving Levy with no option but to retreat. Tani finally captures the pawn on a7 and the black king is in serious trouble. A pair of knights gets traded and white is ready to capture all of black's pawns. But after king to e6 by Levy, Tani decides to go after the king instead and starts building a mating net in the middle of the board. The checks continue with rook b5 and pawn to f4, forcing the black king into a walk of shame. After rook c4 check, Levy thinks he's out of the woods with the move knight to d4. However, he will soon find out why Tani is one of the fastest rising chess prodigies in the world. Instead of capturing the knight with the bishop, Tani plays the brilliant rook takes d4. Levy, realizing he's about to lose to a 12-year-old, plays rook takes d4, but after rook to e5, the black king is checkmated and Tani wins another spectacular game. But with Tani beating Gotham, you may wonder, could he beat Super GM Hikaru Nakamura too? Now let's pause for a moment, as this video is made possible by Morgan & Morgan. If you play chess often, you know you need to plan multiple steps ahead. But sometimes, you just can't avoid unexpected accidents. Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. All law firms are not the same, and Morgan & Morgan is the biggest for a reason. They've won a lot. Insurance companies often lowball clients' claims, but Morgan & Morgan will fight to get you the money you deserve. Morgan & Morgan has an incredible amount of verdicts. Insurance companies know it, now you do too. The firm does not settle for lowball offers. Just in the past couple months, Morgan & Morgan saw verdicts of $12 million in Florida, $26 million in Philadelphia, and $6.8 million in New York, and much more. When you're hurt, you deserve the best by your side. Your serious injury could be worth millions. And it takes only a few minutes to see if you have a case, all from the comfort of your smartphone, with it being completely free unless you win. You can start a claim with America's largest injury law firm with just one click. It's so easy. Start your claim now with Morgan & Morgan at www.forthepeople.com/classical. Thank you, Morgan & Morgan, for sponsoring this video. Tani starts by moving his pawn to e4, a move he has played countless times and is very familiar with. Hikaru responds with his pawn to c5, going for the Sicilian defense. And after playing a couple developing moves, the game turns into a pretty standard position with Tani's knights on c3 and d4 and Hikaru's knights on c6 and f6, with his bishop on g7 eyeing the diagonal. Tani thinks for some time before playing bishop c4, getting ready to castle his kingside. Hikaru castles and Tani moves his bishop back, which Hikaru attacks with knight a5. Here, Hikaru and Tani are completely equal, with Tani being slightly better. This would not last long though. Tani lifts his queen one square, preparing to trade off Hikaru's bishop after attacking it on h6. Hikaru here decides to look for an attack of his own, playing his pawn to b5. While Tani should castle here, he instead goes for pawn to f3, defending his e4 pawn, but making his king a little less safe. Thankfully for Tani, Hikaru here proceeds to play a huge mistake, e5, which allows Tani to win a pawn. After trading the bishops and knights, Tani decides to take the pawn on b5, and after a bishop and knight trade on b3, Hikaru makes another mistake. Knight e4. While this move doesn't look bad, as after check it wins back material, the position will end up with a better position for Tani after pawn to g3, forcing a trade and winning a pawn. But unfortunately, Tani doesn't find this and instead plays his to knight f2, allowing Hikaru to attack Tani's queen, forcing it to move. Looking a little unconfident, here Tani moves his queen to d5, a move that does practically nothing. This move, while it may not look like much, pretty much dooms Tani's position. As Hikaru attacks one of Tani's pawns with his rook, Tani defends this in the worst way possible. Tani had just blundered his rook, and with a look of embarrassment, briefly considers resigning before confidently continuing by taking Hikaru's pawn on d6. Hikaru continues the game by playing rook c2, threatening a checkmate in 2 on f2, which Tani defends with knight e4. Tani is just desperately trying to hold on, hoping to beat Hikaru on the clock. But unfortunately, Hikaru is too fast and too strong, and after following up with attacking Tani's queen, Tani decides to give his queen up with a trade. After trading some final pieces, Hikaru starts suffocating Tani. In chess, of course. And after chasing down Tani's knight, Hikaru ends the game with a brutal rook checkmate, resulting in a win for the professional streamer. But while Tani did lose this match miserably, he would, after a few years, go on to defeat Hikaru not once, but twice, ending his win with a brutal queen e8 check, which after Hikaru moves his king, Tani would play rook f7, winning Hikaru's queen. And while Hikaru is still clearly the much stronger player, Tani is still improving, beating everyone, with a dream to reach world champion.